everything, do you have any issues or any concerns at this point?
Not right now. Like, I'm trying to make sure I'm ahead of everything so I don't get behind.
Okay,
But the lesson's been pretty easy.
that's good. I try not to make them any more complicated than they really need to be, honestly.
Yes, sir. The midterm, I guess with this being my first year, it sort of confused me. I thought we was gonna take like an exam, but due to the fact it's an essay, it was like, whoa. And then I'm like, okay, they getting longer and longer.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Some classes, depending on what you're taking, like if you're taking a history or math, you may actually have a midterm test or a midterm exam. I know some folks, especially if they're doing the online classes, they may have like a Proctor U instead of having a Proctor U final, they're having a Proctor U midterm or something of that nature. Really, what midterm means for us is it's just more or less a symbol that we're basically been in our fall semester for 8 weeks or 2 months. Uh, Thursday by 6 o'clock, everybody's going to have to submit midterm grades. So whatever Blackboard shows as your grade at that point, that's the grade I'm going to have to submit to the college. So if usually with that, if you are a C or higher, you don't really have much to worry about as far as somebody from the college contacting you and asking you, hey, why do you have a D or an F in the course? Um, so with us, really what our midterm sort of assignment is, if you want to call it a test or a quiz or whatever, would be turning in SA3. SA3 is sort of like our midterm essay.
Yes, sir.
So there's not necessarily a exam per se. It's just turning in SA3 on Thursday instead of, is it Thursday I have it for y'all or do I have it for Sunday?
Thursday the 14th.
Yeah, because the reason why I did Thursday was because technically that is the midterm day for the entire college. So that's why I did that way. And plus, it sort of gives you, you don't have to worry about turning anything in Sunday because you just took quiz two the previous Sunday, which for the most part, I'm very pleased over, across the board, all my classes that had to take that particular quiz because it seemed like everybody did really well on it. I think I had more A's on that quiz than I had for quiz one. There were a couple of folks that made B's, but I don't think really anybody, unless you just didn't take it, I don't think too many people made a C or lower,
Quiz
which is,
one was tricky.
yeah,
What
and
kind?
it probably was too because it was your first quiz that you had for me. You didn't really probably know how I was going to set it up, that type deal. And it could be a little bit trickier because there was two paragraphs instead of one. But with that particular one paragraph with quiz two, there were really 34 different things that were wrong with it. So instead of giving you two paragraphs with 34 different things, because that would be just too much, I think, too long. I just,
Yes, sir.
decided to do just one paragraph and just uh, jam pack it with a lot of errors, which again, everybody really did well, I think, on quiz two compared to quiz one, which is always good. So, and I see that folks, and I was going to share this too. I think you've already done it. Um, the extra credit, right? If you go to your lesson page, the library orientation is right here. And I'm recording this, so I hope that folks play this back and look if they um, haven't had a chance to really understand what the library orientation extra credit is. And it's basically click begin there. You take the pretest, and then you go through the modulars, and it should redirect you to the post test. Now, I know some students in other classes, I don't know if it's because the browser they're using or maybe uh, the device they're using, it didn't redirect them to the post test. So I sent out that post-test link. I think it was on October 6th, like after 1 o'clock. So you want to click on and take the post-test because that's where you're going to get your full 10 points. If you just do the pre-test, you're only getting 5. If you do both, you're getting the full 10 points. And what I'm doing with those 10 points is I generally try to ask you, where do you want them? If you don't really give me an answer, you tell me. I try to put it on something that would be beneficial. Like if you didn't do so well on essay 1 or essay 2, I try to put it there first because the essays are going to be worth a little bit more than the quizzes. And of course, as it gets closer to the end of the semester, I'm still going to honor my commitment by dropping one of your lowest quizzes. So I probably wouldn't, honestly, I would hold off putting it on a quiz per se, just because if that's still one of your lowest quizzes and I drop it, then you sort of lose the 10 points, and that's sort of counterproductive. That's why I sort of sent out that email too. I think it was yesterday where I, giving everybody 2 options. Do they want me to go ahead and drop one of your lowest quiz grades or your peer review grades at midterm? If I do that, then I can't drop anything after because you've already took up that drop section. Or you can wait until it gets closer to Thanksgiving while we have more peer reviews and more quizzes, and then you have a better selection to say, hey, I didn't really do well on quiz 4. I want to drop that one instead of initially. So that's sort of what I had in store with that. And I think Diamond got dropped somehow. So you want to take the pre-test, go through the modulars, and then you want to take the post-test. I think the full thing, maybe 30 minutes, an hour, if that. And once I can verify that from our librarian, who is Lorna, who's also going to do a virtual library orientation with us on Wednesday, October 27th. So I will send out an invite to that as it gets closer. Once I can verify that from her, then you have your free, easy 10 points. The other 10 points come from the survey. And let me see if I can get that back up. I sent that email, on the 6th. It said read. So when you read it, it's going to give you a hyperlink. You want to click on that hyperlink, and it's going to take you to a page. The first question is basically picking your instructor. So each one of your classes that you're taking, they're going to want you to go through this survey. So now I can't control whether those instructors are going to give you extra credit or not. I decided to do it because I like to give, back where I can. And I thought this would be a very good opportunity to not only, I hope if once you take this survey, you actually take it seriously and honestly and answer it correctly and all that stuff. But I can also give you 10 extra credit points to put on another assignment as well. So you click on this particular hyperlink, and then you're going to find my name, which is going to be on the 4th column toward the end. You highlight that, and then you hit next. So you want to go through those 8 questions. Question 5 is the one that's a little bit lengthier. Be careful about how you answer that one because it starts strongly disagree, then disagree, neutral, agree, and then strongly agree. So you want to make sure that you're, highlighting the bubbles that you want to highlight. Like if you really mean strongly agree, don't mark strongly disagree for me or that type deal. Don't get confused with the way things are set up on that one. Because sometimes when you do these, sometimes it's strongly agree first. In this case, it's strongly disagree. So just be mindful of that. And then you're going to take a screenshot of question 1 or this first page. And then you're going to take a screenshot after you hit submit where it takes you, which I know where it's going to take everybody. So you basically going to give me 2 screenshots. This one, basically the first one that after you click on the link and you highlight my name, and then the one that you hit submit to at the end after you answer all 8 questions is going to take you to a particular screen, and I know what that screen is going to be. So once I see that you did that, I'm assuming that you did take it. And then I will give you those 10 points. Again, if you know where you want your 10 points to go as it relates to the survey extra credit or the library orientation extra credit, you can express that. Just tell me where you want me to put them. Otherwise, I'm going to put them where I think you're probably going to benefit from them the most. And that would probably be on some of these essays because the essays are going to be worth more in the long run. So any questions with that?
No, sir. And my Wi-Fi keep acting up, so that's why I had to join calling.
Yeah, I think they're having some issues with the internet in various places. So I understand because I know at home, my home internet, I don't know if y'all deal with Comcast or Xfinity, but it's really getting subpar anymore. And that's why sometimes when folks send stuff over the weekend, I can't really get to it right away. And it's not because I'm ignoring it, it's because my internet connection it's off for whatever reason.
I truly understand because right now I was on my laptop and now I was like, he probably think I just exit, but I had to call from my phone.
Yeah, and I understand that because, like I said, I'm kind of having the same issues at home. Um, so that's why I kind of strongly suggest, the more that you can send to me Monday through Thursday right now would probably be the better. I mean, obviously Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I will still try to get as much as I can, but just bear with me with my internet at home. It's been acting up really ever since COVID started. I don't understand really why. Maybe because everybody's online. I don't know. But that's, I'm not deliberately not trying to get back to you as soon as I can. I am, but if I don't have internet connection, it's kind of hard for me to look at drafts and that type of stuff and send them. I can look at stuff over my phone because that's really kind of strange. The Wi-Fi sort of works, but it's hard if you try to do anything over your phone, like type an essay or try to comment on an essay. It's just really a pain in the butt. Um, so that's why I try to wait until the connection is really stable at my house to get back to folks. So just,
And
I mean, bear with me. Keep that in mind. It's not that I'm um, deliberately waiting until Monday to do things. Sometimes I just, like Saturday, it seems like my internet was just completely off for whatever reason. And then Sunday, it came back on. I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started with some stuff. So that's why if you get a lot of emails and stuff on Sunday, that's the reason because Saturday I pretty much didn't have it. And it was kind of frustrating in a lot of ways. That and I had to go to I did a little recruitment event that we have to do periodically each semester. I was down at the seafood festival in Camden too, so I don't know if some of y'all had a chance to go out and enjoy that. It was fairly busy. It was pretty fun. Um, it was interesting. It was my first time going there, so. Um, all right, so I think I went over the extra credits. So I'm going to exit out of this.
oh,
And
I have a question about that.
Okay.
So I did the second one because the first one that was sent out was about the library. So I
Right.
did the pre one, and then I seen the link for the post. But I also see what it said. I guess on the 27th, the library will go over it. Will it be too late to take the post on the 27th?
No, I would rather everybody sort of take both the pretest and the post-test before the 27th. And the only reason why I suggest that because I can go ahead and put those extra credit points somewhere now. And when Lorna comes, yes, she's going to talk a little bit about um, what you should have learned from that library orientation, but she's going to go a little bit more in detail because by that time we're going to have our research paper topic and everything. So, I mean, you have up until the 27th, the 2 o'clock or whatever time she's coming. But if you want your points faster, you need to do both the pre-test and the post-test before that.
Okay, I already did the pre-test, so I'll make sure I take my post-test today.
Yeah, because what I'm having to do, I think they're trying to figure out a way that instructors can see who's doing what as it relates if they're completing both the pretest and the post-test. But really what I'm having to do is go to her, and I'm trying to do that on a weekly basis now, um, to get her spreadsheet to see who actually did both. Uh, because I did that on Thursday. So if you did it, between, I guess, Monday and Thursday last week, then you had points already applied somewhere. If you did it
Yes, sir.
since Thursday until now, I haven't had a chance to see who actually, did it between last Thursday and Tuesday. But I will, I'm going to go down there and talk to her. I may try to get a spreadsheet maybe later today. Um, but yeah, I have to go through her to see who actually did the library stuff.
Yes, sir.
Um, okay, so let's look at our week 8. So as you can tell, we do have the Dropbox. It's right here for SA3. And I will say, Diamond, your SA3 really is coming along. I mean, I think you're pretty much probably after. I mean, I think were you going to send it back to Smart Thinking?
I did send it to Smart Thinking, and they got back to me this morning. And when I looked over the reviews, they was telling me I need to add more personal experience. And that's what confused me when it comes to my essays. I'm like, okay, do I write, like the first two was very simple, but this one was a little confused because it was like cause and effect. So I was like,
Right.
okay, do I put a cause and effect that will happen in my life, like how my parents' parenting skill affected me, and now how our parents. So I was like, okay, I wasn't sure. So when I sent it to you at first and you didn't make a comment about adding more personal experience, I just avoided what Smart Thinking said and just did like the small corrections on my grammar and my introduction.
Yeah, I think they may be getting confused and thinking that it's more like an extended personal narrative. Um, you can add a little bit more personal experience if you want, as more or less like illustration or examples, if you think it will benefit you as it relates to the cause and effect. But really what I was looking at was, the bare bones cause and effect. I wasn't necessarily looking for an extra narrative paper here. So I will let that be up to you. If you think you would benefit a little bit more for adding some of those examples, you can. I think what you had was going fairly well. That's why I didn't say, hey, add more personal experience. But I could see, something must have got lost with translation between you and them, maybe. Um, but either way it would work. You just want to be careful that you're not turning SA3 back into an SA1, if that makes sense.
It does, because as I read over the instructions of what you put, I was like, okay, he really didn't. It's not more of about me. It's about looking at it in other perspective, because in the essay we don't put I or me or we. We use
Right.
one, so it's like we're talking about somebody else.
Yes. Yeah, because you're kind of looking at it more as a objective person. So that's why you're using more of the third person and less the first with this. Because when we get more into the research paper and into SA4 that I'm going to look at here momentarily, you want to sort of be objective about what you're trying to get across. You're not trying to give me so much I, me, and my anymore, but you're trying to be
Yes,
objective.
sir.
You're the perspective, a neutral perspective. Sometimes I don't know if did you actually sort of copy uh, what the actual paper needed to be about? Like, did you give them the
Yes,
instructions too?
yes, sir.
Huh.
That's
Yeah,
normally
they
how I send it to them. I just copy what you put and I let them figure it out with my essay to see if
yeah.
I'm on the right track.
Sometimes because you don't really know necessarily if you're getting the same person twice or whatever. So sometimes, the first person may understand it, and then if you send it again, you may not get the same person, and they may not, get confused with what's going on. So, but again, I think, I mean, that's going to be up to you. If you want to add, personal a little bit more personal flair to it, just as an examples, then that's fine.
Yes, sir.
But I think how you were going, because it was already fairly. I mean, how many words do you have?
I think it's
You remember?
1,033. I know the requirement was 1,000, and I probably
Yeah.
went over that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, you just want to be careful because, again, I don't. When I say 4 pages, I really mean 4. If you go back and sort of do that personal stuff, it may put you to 6 pages. So, I mean, you just want to be careful with that. I mean, as long as it's not too terribly long. I mean, 5 or 6 pages, okay, I can deal with that. But sometimes um, folks will take 4 pages and make 8 pages out of it, and
Yeah,
that's
that's why I try to make sure I stick between your requirements. I said, because that when I first started, I was like, he wants 3 pages and 700 words, and it was like, or. I was like, okay, I can deal with this. It's either or.
yeah.
So that's why I try to make sure my words. I'm more so of the word count versus the pages.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I put both of them up there because I'm like, well, you can get to the end of page 3 and have 1,000 words, and you feel like you said everything you needed to say, you can basically stop. But I mean, if you get to the end of page 3 and you only have like 600 words, then you probably need to go at least 400 more, and that would put you over into page 4. Um, because if I don't give a word count or a page length, I'm going to get essays that are only a half a page or a page long, and that's not going to do it. That's just not going to do it. All right, so if you look at this week's folder, I do go into a little bit with parallel structure. If you remember last week, you sort of had dangling modifiers and misplaced modifiers. Hopefully, doing some of those or looking at some of that wasn't too confusing or problematic. Again, if you looked at some of the links, I think I sent you a new link because I think the link that I had actually on the Blackboard wasn't working for some folks. So I sent you a better handout with misplaced and dangling modifiers that actually had some answers to the questions. So if you work through that and you feel confident, that's good. If you work through that and you want to send me stuff that they didn't give you answers to, because I think the last 2 pages they didn't have answers to it, I will provide you feedback and give you answers if you need answers. Parallel structure is not that difficult. If you click here and look at it, and this is really what's going to be, quiz 3 is going to be happening in about a week or so. So quiz 3 is basically going to be dangling modifiers, misplaced modifiers, and then parallel structure here. So basically what parallel structure is, you want to sort of have balance in your sentence. So if you look at this first one, it says, I am allergic to the dog's hair and how it smells. Well, grammatically, it is correct because you have a subject, verb, and a complete thought. However, the balance is sort of off because you don't want to have how it smells. You can just say, and it smelled, right? I'm allergic to the dog's hair and its smell. So that makes the whole sentence parallel in nature. We don't have this how it. Um, Generally, you see parallel structure used most when you're using items in a series. So if you look here, the class valued respect, honestly, and being on time in a teacher. Well, being on time is what's sort of throwing that off because we don't have being respectful or being honest. So we just need to kind of keep it. If it's nouns, if you have 3 nouns, you want to keep 3 nouns. If it's adjectives, you want to keep 3 adjectives. If it's verbs, you want to keep 3 verbs. So in this case, we're having to change being on time to promptness because it fits the structure of that particular sentence. Class valued respect, honesty, and promptness. So it usually goes like this, like where it says here, parallel structure should be used when comparing a contrasting element. So A is better than B, X is less than Y. So again, in this particular sentence, James enjoys reading more than to write. Well, what's throwing it off, even when you say it, is more than to write, because there's a compare and contrast here. So because we have reading, we need to change our verb and make it with an ing to make it make sense. James enjoys reading more than writing. So that's really the parallel structure there. And then I give you have a couple sentences here. And if you look, because I'm not going to go through all of these right now, because the answers are right here. So what I would suggest that you sort of go through them and then check your answers. If you're getting more wrong than right and you want help, then please reach out.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. Because really, I'm hoping quiz 3 would be sort of like quiz 2, that everybody do really well on it. Because it's only going to cover really 3 concepts: parallel structure, dangling, and misplaced modifiers from last week. That's it.
Okay.
All right. So let me get out of this, close a couple of these down. Got a lot of tabs open. All right. The rest, and again, I know some folks are still working on Essay 3. So I'm not going to get in too much detail right now, but if you look, I give you some information. We're going to look at Essay 4, but it's dealing with a persuasive, our genre of writing for Essay 4 is persuasive writing. So I give you some handouts that have characteristics of a persuasive essay, persuasive language, logical fallacies. Some of this stuff are probably going to be moved over and really discussed next week, because that's when we're going to be more or less in Essay 4. But if you click here,
Yes,
it's
sir.
going to take various links. This actually shows you how to set up a persuasive essay. They actually sort of give you a couple brief
Examples.
clips.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So now it makes me feel like if my topic is wrong.
Well, yeah, let's look at the actual topic, because I saw it and I started looking at it. I didn't want to comment too much because I'm still trying to look at Essay 3 drafts right now. I'm glad that you did send an Essay 4, and I will get to it. But let's look at what we're actually asked to do here.
Okay.
So this one, Essay 4. All right. Persuasion, right? It's going to be the same format. As you can tell, the link goes up a little bit. 1 page, or 5 pages, or 1,250 words. This one's going to be due on the 24th of October, which if you look, I know, and I kind of apologize, there's sort of a shortness of time. But again, you still have the rest of this week and all of next week. So you have, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have about 12 days still to send me drafts, to send smart thinking drafts. So basically what the topic says, it says, convince me. I'm getting this quote from Percy Bysshe Shelley, who is a romantic poet back in England. It says, the person who has been accustomed to subdue men by force will be less inclined to the trouble of convincing or persuading them. So when you think about persuasion, you're thinking about trying to convince your reader or persuade your reader to think a certain way that goes with your own, train of thought. If you look, there's persuasion everywhere. It's in politics. Your boss tries to persuade you to work more hours. If you can kind of come in because I'm short staffed, that would give you more hours on your check, and that would, give you more money to have, that type deal. They're trying to work you up to, butter you up to bring you in, right? To support their idea. So if you look at the actual topic, it says your hometown lacks a great deal. So again, most of y'all are probably, you either live in Camden or you may live in Glen or Ware. You have too many restaurants, shops, and gas stations, yet it offers nothing entertaining for anyone to enjoy. In fact, if you want entertainment, then you must spend time and money to travel nearly an hour or longer away. It has been that way since your parents were your age. It is time your hometown changes with your times. It's time to persuade the authorities in your hometown that the city needs a shot in its arm and more entertainment is needed to the town, which will help the town grow in many different ways. With this known and money not an issue, write a persuasive essay that will convince the citizens of your town of your plans to bring weekly entertainment to your town. In other words, convince the community of why creating something fresh, perhaps an establishment that other cities do not have, or reviving the historical downtown area to include folks of all ages would be beneficial to their grandkids. Sell your concepts and convince old minds to be open to fresh, refreshed ideas about your town. How would your entertainment cause other folks in other cities to visit your hometown on the weekends instead of the other way around? So basically, you're sort of coming up, you're sort of like a developer or a planner in this case. You can kind of look at it that way. If you are in Camden, and I'm assuming, Diamond, is this where you lived all your life?
In Brunswick.
Oh, you lived in Brunswick.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. So either way, I mean, Brunswick or Camden. So I'm from Brunswick. I wasn't born there, but I've lived there for a long enough time. I've seen the changes that have happened over the last 20 years. Are we still lacking entertainment in Brunswick?
Yes. Okay, so now you guys feel like I did do it right, because that's really what I spoke on. And in my topics, I broke it down into like entertainment for couples, teenagers, kids, because I do have kids, and like you said, we do travel to like Jacksonville because their fare is better, or Savannah because their mall's bigger.
Right. So yeah, you did do it right. You actually you went a little bit more because you did break it up in categories, which that's good because you said you had it for older people and couples, and then you had it for children. Because if you look around, even Camden, Brunswick, we don't have a lot for young adults to do. We don't have, we have restaurants. It's the same sort of restaurants. There's some restaurants, if you think of bigger cities, Savannah, Macon, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Orlando, that we just don't have. There's things, entertainment wise, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a nightclub or a restaurant. There's, what does Jacksonville have that Brunswick doesn't have that would be beneficial to, let's say, a younger couple? Well, I mean, if you're thinking about restaurants, they have a Dave and Buster's, right? It's a restaurant with an arcade that grown-up people can go and have fun. We don't have anything like that in Brunswick. We definitely don't have anything like that in Camden. So that's one thing. You can think about, for kids, what is there for kids to do in the summertime in Brunswick besides going to the beach, which that's always been there, besides going to summer waves, which is really overpriced and you can only ride the same slide and stuff so many times. We do have sort of the public pools, but do we have anything like an indoor playground? We do have sort of like a jump place, but do we have something that, it's 95 degrees outside and you don't want your kid to heat to death? We don't have any like an indoor establishment, say like if you went to Savannah, there's a Monkey Joe's, something that you can bring the whole family to. I think they're actually taking one of the old Winn-Dixies there off of Altama, and they're sort of doing like a trampoline / laser tag. They're supposed to open something up in there. But we have a lot of vacant buildings just in Brunswick that could be turned into something that would be beneficial not only to kids, but possibly their parents. There's only so many times you can go to the pier without getting bored with it. The same thing with summer waves. Yes, you go to summer waves, you pay $20, $30, $40, $50, whatever the case may be. In the end, it's just water. You can do the same without really the slides and stuff for free by just going to St. Simon's on the beach. I mean, honestly. But again, summer waves gets boring after a while. How about certain places don't have fairs like Camden County? If they want to go to a fair, they either have to go to Brunswick or they have to go to Jacksonville. Well, again, that's a drive. Either way, It's 30 minutes one way, it's 30 minutes the other, it's gas money. Um, could we have a fair come to Camden? Would that bring people in? So yes, you're sort of thinking about what around town is missing that would not only help Brunswick or help St. Mary's as it relates to their local citizens, but also help stop you from spending money and gas driving somewhere else. Let somebody else come to us for a change. Let them sort of build up our finance in the community. Um, that's really what that's what you're trying to go for here.
Yes,
And
sir.
if that's
Okay,
the
I
way
feel
that
like I did good then.
yeah, I mean, if that's how you set yours up, I haven't had a chance to really read through all of it, but I mean, you're going to know how you set it up better than am right now. But if that's how you set it up, then you're going in the right place. You're going in the right direction. But I plan on looking at more SA4 drafts after I get through looking at SA3 drafts and start. I mean, obviously, I will look at it. I will try to get some feedback as it gets later, before the end of the week. But I think if that's how you set yours up, then you should be going on you should be following it great. I mean, you should be going in a great way with it.
Yes,
Um,
sir. It was a good topic. I liked it. Like it gave me a chance to actually think. And we had just recently went to the it's sort of close to Camden. It's the plantation where they have like I wonder it's not a pumpkin patch, but it's like a field of different. It's like a country life. And I took my kids and I was like, oh, this would be perfect to talk about in my essay because we're driving down south just for the kids to have fun.
yeah. Um, and a lot of places are missing that. I want to bring this handout because it's in your weekly folder, and since you've already started a little bit with your essay 4, you want to think about rhetorical appeals. And really, ethos, it appeals to authority and credibility. Pathos, it appeals to the emotion. Logos, it appeals to logic and reason. So when you're writing essays, not just for essay 4, and again, we'll probably look at this a little bit more next week because it does give you some examples and that type of stuff. But when you're writing essays in general, you want to think about these 3 appeals because you're going to be appealing to somebody, especially with this particular essay. And long story short, you're appealing to me because I'm going to be the one grading it. But you kind of have to think of it as a community too. Um, think of like the big picture. Would your citizens of Glenn County get behind you and support you with what you are putting down on paper that you want to have come or build or have for not only the kids but for the grown adults? Are you appealing to their ethos, meaning are you appealing to the authority or credibility? Are you appealing to pathos? Are you wanting to show emotion? Or you're appealing to more logos, logic, and reason? And a lot of it's going to be at first probably the logic and reason because you want to show why having a Dave and Buster's in Brunswick would be beneficial not only to the community but to every kids, to grown adults. You want to appeal to people's emotions. Um, or logic and reason in that case. If you want to use more of a pathos or a pathetic appeal where you're appealing to emotions, you want to have that sort of come out in your essay. So just be mindful of which rhetorical appeal are you using most to get your message across when you're trying to convince somebody to say, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. I like that. I like how you're convincing me through ethos or you're convincing me through logos. So again, a lot of this stuff we're probably going to look at a little bit more in detail next week. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I did include it with our weekly folder, so that would be helpful as it relates to the essay 4 topic.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring entertainment of some sort back to your hometown. Now, if your hometown is not Brunswick or St. Mary's, or if you wasn't born here, you were born somewhere else, and that was what you sort of considered your hometown, then by all means, you can use that as your hometown if you want to. It may be easier to use the town that you're sort of currently living in because you can kind of tell what you have and what you don't have, especially if you moved away from your hometown 15 years ago and haven't really been back. It may be harder to sort of, talk about that compared to if you lived in Brunswick. And even though Brunswick may not be your hometown, at least you've lived there the last 10 years, you can kind of tell what we need and what we don't need. Because it seems like they like to build a lot of stuff that we really don't need. I mean, how many McDonald's do we need? How many Starbucks do we really need? How many gas stations do we really need? You're building stuff that, in a lot of ways we don't need. We already have enough of. We need stuff that, other cities have that we don't. We need a place that we can take our kids during the summer if it's raining outside or if it's too hot outside. We need something that's, not just spending a whole heck of a lot of money. Yes, things are going to cost. But that's why I put on here, let's just say that money's not an issue. You have the money to do it. Create something for us. Tell us what would be beneficial. What would help the community? What would help you? What would help your kids? What would help other folks that were driving past Brunswick? Because again, a lot of folks, they realize if Brunswick doesn't offer a whole lot, they're going to keep going down to Jacksonville or they're going to pass and go to Savannah. I mean, think about our malls. We don't really have a mall anymore. I mean, we do, but it's not great. It wasn't like it was 20 years ago.
Right.
We used to have an outlet mall there at the Darien exit. Again, that was good 20 years ago, but there's nothing really there now. And we can thank a lot of it for, the online shopping and that type of stuff. But that's the thing. You could basically, if you had the right type of person, you can take that Brunswick Mall and make it something again if you know what you're doing. So think about what folks are doing, whether they're going to Amazon. Well, why can't we have like an Amazon store like, some places in Jacksonville have? They actually have an Amazon store. Why can't we have an Amazon store in the mall? Bring people that, primarily shop online, try to give them to start coming back into the doors of these brick and mortar buildings. Give them something that they would have to sort of be, enticed by to drive, even if it's just 5 minutes away. I mean, I think we just got so used to we can just sit on our phone and order stuff and let them bring it to us, and that's fine. But I mean, if you start offering stuff that people would probably go and take a few minutes to drive to get instead of having to wait for the mail system, especially now, if you watched any of the news, we got ships on both sides of the coast, East Coast and West Coast, that are sort of having trouble delivering any goods because they're sort of stuck. And that's because we don't have a lot of workers that are just going to unload them. And two, it's just there's so many ships there that are sort of blocking the pass. So a lot of folks, are getting kind of worried about Christmas season because if you're ordering stuff overseas or you're ordering stuff from Amazon or something, and it's on one of those ships, it may or may not get to you before Christmas. It may be months after Christmas before you get it. So that's where if you had like a brick and mortar store that would offer like an Amazon store or something inside of it, you can easily, drive to Brunswick and pick up your item. If they have it in stock, you wouldn't have to worry because your item is here, but it's off the coast of California somewhere and you don't know when you're going to get it. So you won't have to rely on the mail system so much, because then you can actually go out and pick it up and get it and bring it back home. You won't have to pay the shipping and handling. You won't have to wait weeks. You just drive around, across town and get it. So that's just one example, right? I mean, we can think of other examples that we would really need in Brunswick that we don't have, or we can think of other examples that Camden or St. Mary's or Kingsland needs that, people that lived here the last 10, 15 years. I mean, the main drag here in Kingsland, down from the college, there's a whole bunch of restaurants and stuff but there's nothing really in here that, is enticing for somebody off on 5 to drop and stop. I mean, really, what do you have? You have a Ruby Tuesdays. Well, okay, Jacksonville has one of them. McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell. Well, Brunswick has one of them. So, unless you're just starving or you have a whole bunch of kids that are going crazy, there's really, or unless you're going to get gas, if you're just a casual driver, there's nothing that's really going to say, hey, let's stop at exit 3 and, explore this particular city. I would rather go down to the airport exit and get to the big shopping mall there, because there's more there to entice me. If I'm going to buy something, I'm probably going to buy something more from a place like that than I would be just getting off the exit and, there's about 10 gas stations and, 15 fast food places that I can basically find in any other podunk town. There's nothing really special here that I really need to keep coming back. So that's that's kind of your mindset has to be on this. You can kind of be creative with it, at the same time be, formal and professional and that type deal. But let your imagination run wild, because there's going to be things that, as you brainstorm, you may come up with other things. You can kind of create your own businesses if you wanted to. You don't necessarily have to call it a Monkey Joe's. You can call it something else. But you're trying to give it enough teeth that people will, hey, that's a great idea. We are missing something like that. We need that. Like Brunswick, they used to have a lot of golf courses. They don't have that many golf courses anymore. Can you make like a golf course and maybe have something else go with it that would be beneficial to the community? You don't have to have something that's going to, cost your customer an arm and a leg, because a lot of those on the island do cost. If you want people to come and enjoy, you have to have a certain fee. Doesn't need to necessarily be, X amount of dollars to get people to come in the door. You want to be reasonable with it. Don't treat everybody like we're going to the Cloister, because not everybody can afford the Cloister. And some places do that because they want to keep certain people out. But if you're trying to build your community, you don't need to have places that are always going to be high end. Well, you can only go in here if you can afford $50 or more. You got to think about your citizens. Not everybody has $50 they can, spend on a meal. But at the same time, they're like, well, it's kind of slow. We wish we had more people. Well, if you lower some of the prices, maybe you would. So it's always that sort of, again, it's that balance. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it does.
All right. Well, I know our time is running a little bit low, a little bit short. I think I kind of went over, and I got another class that starts at 1. So I'm going to try to get some lunch real quick, if possible. Does anybody else have any questions? I think there's 2 of us on here now, 3 of us. Not sure if anybody else has any questions. Hopefully that kind of clarifies what week 8 is all about and what the next essay assignment is going to be about. The key thing is just remember that essay 3 is due on the 14th. So if you have drafts for essay 3 that you still want to send me, I could probably look at stuff up to about 5 or 6 o'clock on Thursday the 14th, but that's going to be kind of cutting it, because I usually leave here at 6, and I don't know how everybody else's work schedule is, but if I did send something, back to you at 6, is that going to give you enough time before it's due 11:59 on Thursday? So obviously I would take today and tomorrow to get as many drafts as you can. Yes, I will look at drafts up till 5 o'clock or so on Thursday, but by then we're sort of at the nitty gritty. I probably wouldn't try to send smart thinking anything on Thursday, because there's no chance. You may get it back in 4 hours, and it may be on the 15th, and by then it's going to be too late. Does that make sense? for everybody? All right. If so, I'm gonna have to try to. I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna stop recording real quick because I'm gonna have to.